Another nickname she well earned herself was Dark Lady of Duna. Supposedly, after her husband's death, she fell in love with a sailor, who then got killed by the McMahon clan. No, not the McMahon clan. Hello there! As you can see, today we have something very special for you. Curihistory does its first collaboration. Our friends from Six Tonne Overtake approached us for this project, and we gladly agreed. Go to their channel tomorrow to learn about the region of Clew Bay and the folklore that was spun around its legendary pirate queen. Meanwhile, right here on Curihistory, we will dive into the history of the real person that hides behind said moniker. Join us as we explore the biography of Gráinne Umhaill. In 1530 CE, we believe, clan chief Owen Dubhdara O'Malley had a daughter. He was one of many chiefs that divided Ireland among themselves, each ruling over a region, but none powerful enough to dominate the entire Emerald Isle. Nominally, Ireland was under British rule, where the Tudor Henry VIII, who held the title Lord of Ireland, but practically the clans cared little about this detail. The O'Malley clan hailed from Connacht, and were poetically also known as the Lions of the Green Sea, as they were fierce sailors that braved the stormy Atlantic to trade and pillage. The clan chief himself had become infamous as the pirate Owen Black Oak O'Malley. However, traditional pirating was not his main source of income. With his experienced sailors and ruthless reputation, he started a protection racket, so to speak. Whoever wanted to sail or fish in his seas was to pay a toll, which is also known as black rent. And even kings like Philip II of Spain knew better than to ignore this demand. The O'Malleys also controlled a string of castles along the coast to protect their domain from invasion. So Owen O'Malley was mostly interested in protecting his family's land, especially Clew Bay, which meant he needed to find a good husband for his daughter Grace, or Gráinne in her native tongue. Gráinne, according to oral history, was rather fond of the sea and the pirate lifestyle, and rather wanted to accompany her father on expeditions. When he rebuked her on account that her long hair might get tangled in the ship's tows, she cut it off. Henceforth, she became known as Gráinne Mhaol, so Grace the Bald in English. However, historians noted that the nickname could have also been a mishearing of Gráinne Umhaill, so Gráinne of Umhaill. The latter is the ancestral name of the O'Malley clan as rulers of the petty kingdom of Umhaill. But whether the story is true or not, it appears that Gráinne was eventually allowed to accompany her father on journeys to Spain and France, during which she quickly became an experienced sailor herself. Nonetheless, the marriage was not off the table, and so a match was made between Gráinne and the heir of the O'Flaherty clan, Donal. This union would have not just put their constant rivalry to the rest, but also created a greater territory to jointly rule for their children. And while 3 children were born to them, the marriage did not end up as successful as Owen would have hoped. Donal O'Flaherty was a man of great ambition, but not necessarily the skill to achieve his lofty goals. So, Queen Elizabeth, by the time the lawful Queen of England and Ireland, appointed another member of the clan O'Flaherty as its new chief. Only a year later, in 1565, Donal was killed in an ambush, most likely on order of the rival clan Joyce. Clan Joyce then tried to use the disarray over Donal's death and take a castle, only to be rebuffed by Grace. She had already taken a role that was close to equal to her husband in the clan, refusing to be a demure housewife, and combined it now with her tenacity and leadership qualities. This way, she rallied her forces and pushed the Joyce clan into retreat. Another tragedy struck, however, as Chief Owen O'Malley died. Gráinne returned to County Mayo, not just for her father's funeral, but also to take control of the clan. By inheritance law at the time, a woman could not be chief of a clan, but Gráinne had battle-hardened troops that were loyal to her. So in a case of might makes right, the law was ignored and Gráinne became Queen of Umhaill. And just like her father, she began raising tolls for passage through her waters, especially around Galway. Piracy proved to be another good source of income for her, be it by attacking Spanish and English trade vessels or stealing cattle from other coastal clans, thus fully earning herself the moniker Pirate Queen. Another nickname she well earned herself was Dark Lady of Duna. Supposedly, after her husband's death, she fell in love with a sailor, who then got killed by the McMahon clan. No, not the McMahon clan. Yeah, that's the one. Her revenge was terrible, as she attacked the clan several times, raiding, pillaging, and even taking one of their strongholds, Duna Castle. In the meantime, another powerful woman extended her influence over Ireland. The already mentioned Queen Elizabeth followed a different policy than her late father. While Henry was very hands-off regarding Ireland and let the clans sort it out themselves, Elizabeth had already started meddling early when she intervened in the lineage of the O'Flaherty clan, and she was far from done. The Tudor-appointed governor of Connacht, Sir Richard Bingham, who had earned himself that role by putting down a rebellion in Ireland, frequently clashed with the headstrong Gráinne. He went so far as to blame her for all rebellions of the prior 40 years in the region. The leader of the O'Malley clan, of course, did everything in her power to contest English rule over her territory. If that meant fighting off English expeditions, so be it. However, as fierce as she was, she knew her means were much more limited than the English crown's, so Gráinne opted for diplomacy. She sent a letter to Queen Elizabeth asking for a meeting to discuss how much autonomy the Pirate Queen was allowed to maintain. The situation, however, quickly escalated as Sir Bingham managed to capture one of Gráinne's sons, Tibbet, and charged him with treason. Now pleading for his release was added to the agenda of the meeting. Now a lot about this meeting comes from oral tradition rather than written sources, so we take everything with our usual grain of salt. For example, Gráinne supposedly did not bow before Queen Elizabeth as she refuted her claim over Ireland. She also might have carried a concealed dagger, which was found by the guards and alerted the entire room, except the two queens. Gráinne claimed it was for self-defense, and Elizabeth accepted the explanation. Whether true or not, Gráinne must have left an impression on Elizabeth, as the Queen demanded an investigation into Bingham's acts as governor. I guess game does recognize game. The investigation found no wrongdoing on the side of the O'Malleys, so Tibbet was released from custody and taxes to the crown were reduced as compensation. Furthermore, Bingham was ordered to leave the O'Malley clan in peace. Bingham, however, was not happy with this. He tried to defy the orders at first and later did his best to maliciously comply by forcing the O'Malley fleet into his service. At times, his orders went so far as making her attack part of her own clan, which she claimed was in rebellion. Gráinne's forced service lasted well into the 9 Years' War. In said war, the Spanish tried to weaken the English by stoking the flames of rebellion in Ireland. But then Bingham's scheming finally caught up to him and he was replaced as governor of Connacht. The O'Malleys now took an officially neutral position, but Gráinne's piracy suspiciously targeted English ships a lot more in that time. Interestingly, Tibbet sided with the English loyalist side. Perhaps that is why Gráinne officially stayed neutral, so she would not have to fight her own son. In 1603, the era of girl bossing came to an end, as both Elizabeth of England and Gráinne O'Malley died in the same year. Granted, for Gráinne, this is actually more of an estimate, as we do not know her exact year of death. We do, however, know her final resting place of Clare Island Abbey. Tibbet inherited the leadership of the Clan O'Malley, but soon after a new English crown law abolished the clan rule in Ireland, officially ending the Umhaill dynasty. So, that was the history of maybe the most notorious pirate and queen in Irish history. If you are also interested in her impact on local culture, please check out the video by Six Tonne Overtake, which will be released one day after our upload. If you do go to their channel, please say hello to them. As always, we appreciate likes, subs and shares, and of course the same goes to our collaborators. Thank you to my wonderful artist, Six Tonne Overtake, and to you viewers. Until next time, bye!